This is the story of how I became a wanted man, wanted by the state of Arizona. Now, okay, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. It has to be bad, right? It has to be just about the worst fucking thing that a person can do just to get wanted by anybody, you know? I'll stop you right there and just reassure you for a quick second. No, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't rob anybody, and it really isn't that bad. I say wanted, but I had a warrant out for my arrest. And any layman who sees that is going to think, oh shit, I'm wanted. Like, they're looking for me, essentially. If the right people found me, they would take me in and take me to jail. Starting off the story, where to begin? This is a story that actually took place over the span of like 2 years, which is crazy. So I guess the best way to start off this story is, okay, I was 19. I moved down to Tucson for college. I lived in apartments. I lived in like these college dorm slash apartments where I had 3 roommates, but we each had our separate doors that led to the outside world, those kinds of apartments. The door that led from my room outside, there was a street, a 2-way street, and parking all alongside the curb too. So I had a car, '01 Nissan Altima. I had my car and I parked it in front of my door, directly in front of my door, okay? So it's going this way, right? Traffic this way, traffic this way. I lived in this apartment, so I parked my car right in front of the door. Here's the problem though, and I know I'm a fucking idiot. I know I am. I parked the opposite direction towards incoming traffic. I wasn't in the way of traffic. I just parked in the parking spot in the way of incoming traffic. That warranted a ticket. That was a parking violation on my end, and I got a ticket for that. So the next day I look out, I have to go drive somewhere, and I walk out my door and I look at my car and there's a piece of paper on the windshield. It's a ticket. I look at it and it says parking violation. It described what I did wrong and how much I needed to pay. Okay, if I recall correctly, it was like $81 or something stupid like that. And I saw that and I went, okay, whatever, that's fine. You learn something new every fucking day, I guess. I took the ticket, I wrote out a check, I put it in a letter, and I sent it to the proper authorities. I sent it to one of the downtown offices here in Tucson, okay? I sent it to there, I had it paid off, the ticket was in there, fine and fucking dandy, all right? Everything was totally fine. I never got contacted by it. Nobody ever sent me an email, no one called me, it said anything like, okay, you're absolved of your fine. I'm like, that's great, that's cool. Nobody called me. Okay, so I'm going about my days driving without a fucking care in the world. That same year, it's Mother's Day. Okay, so this happened in August. Now it's May. All right, it's Mother's Day. My mother, my father, and the majority of my family had moved to Houston, okay, to live there. And I was the only one in Arizona, along with my sister in Flagstaff. It's Mother's Day, you know, want to do something nice for Mother's Day. My mother's not here. So I drive up to Flagstaff and I take my grandmother out for Mother's Day with my sister. We go out and we eat sushi, and it was a great night. I was staying with one of my best friends at the time. Okay, I was staying at his house because I didn't really have anywhere to sleep when I was visiting. So I was staying there, and the way to get from the restaurant to my friend's house was through the highway. That was the fastest, most efficient way possible to get there. Okay, my grandmother does not like to drive on the highway. So I said, that's fine. I will drive your car, and I know exactly where to go, so I will drive us to there, and then you can drive back without taking the highway. But I want to take the highway because it's going to be faster, okay? So we're driving on the highway, right? Fine and fucking dandy. The highway speed in Flagstaff was 65 miles an hour, and of course, I have my grandmother. I'm driving her car, so I'm not going to exceed it. I'm not even going to go 5 over. I go 65, according to the speedometer. I was going 65 miles an hour. During my exit, when I was getting off of the highway, I see sirens behind me. I'm getting pulled over. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's whatever. So I hit the exit. We're getting pulled over, and I just stop on the side of the road because, all right, now we have to deal with this. I have to deal with this. And just as an added fucking note of how dumb I am, the officer walks up to my window and says, "Good evening," and I say, "Good afternoon." Right after, it was so fast. He said, "Good evening." I'm like, "Good afternoon." Like as if I was totally in the fucking right there. As if I didn't do anything wrong. Like, yes, it is quite, the sun's up. It was dark. He didn't catch that, which was interesting. So he didn't catch that, so he didn't suspect anything, which I thought was pretty fucking funny. He was paying attention to his paper and shit, like, oh, you know, hello. So he says license and registration, the basics, all right? I give him my license. I grab my grandmother's registration from the glove box and give it to him. Okay, he takes both, walks back to his car, walks back to his patrol car. 15 minutes after, he comes back to the car. Okay, he comes back to the car. He comes right to me, right to the driver's side, and he says, "Are you Tiago Fernandez?" Yes. Can you step out of the car? Sure. He takes me to his patrol car and he says, "So you have a warrant out for your arrest." He says, "My license is suspended." And I say, how? He's like, I have no idea, because obviously I'm in Flagstaff. He's like, it says that you didn't pay for a parking ticket. I'm like, no, yes, I fucking did. Yeah, yes, I did. I paid for that fucking parking ticket like 6 months ago. I sent it in the mail with the payment to whatever courthouse and yada yada. And they said, well, the DMV didn't get that information. So that's what happened. I sent it to the downtown offices in Tucson, and they never notified the DMV that I had put in my payment, which apparently is a fucking thing. So if the DMV never knew, they put a suspension on my license, which meant that between the time that I received that ticket and then from then when I got pulled over, my license was suspended. So I told him, I said, listen, I'm not a dumb guy. Relatively speaking. If I knew my license was suspended, I would not be driving. There's no fucking chance. I'm driving my grandmother's car because she doesn't know where we're going because I'm visiting here right now. I grew up here. I'm visiting here. And when I said I grew up here, that's kind of triggered him. He's like, oh, did you grow up here? I'm like, yes, I did. My father owned restaurants in downtown. He's like, oh, what restaurant? Like, my dad owned Pesto Brothers. Like, oh, apparently this cop is a veteran. He was like 50 years old. He's been on the force for like 30 or whatever. And he knew what I was talking about. He knew the restaurants that my family used to own in Flagstaff, which was super cool, which I think that might be the reason why I kind of got off pretty damn easy. You don't get off that easy when your license is suspended and you're driving with a suspended license. That does not fucking happen. So he says, you know, I could impound your grandmother's vehicle and send you to jail. And I said, you could do that. Do you want to drive my grandmother back home and my sister back home too and impound my grandmother's car? Is that really the move here, Chief? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was trying to be as nice as possible because you always have to be. With all the fucking cops, you always have to be as nice as humanly possible. I was just wanting to get the hell out of this. So what he ended up doing, he said, all right, because you have a suspended license, I'm going to give you a ticket for driving with a suspended license. When you go down to Tucson, resolve it with your DMV there, and then they'll notify us here in Flagstaff of the changes. Okay, you know what? That sounds fine. That sounds perfect. I get back into the car, I drive, I get dropped off at my friend's house, and fine and fucking dandy. When I go back to Tucson, I go to my DMV and I said, hey, I made this payment. This payment is done. You got the money. Not fucking you, but just one of you people got the money, okay? So I take my license off of suspension, all right? Flash forward a couple years later now. It's my 21st birthday. Of course, I grew up in Flagstaff, so I decided to go back to Flagstaff for my 21st birthday and celebrate it there and have fun. I also wanted to kill two birds, one stone situation where I'm going out to Flagstaff, celebrating my 21st, and I want to get my new license. So I go to the DMV in Flagstaff, all right? This is where it actually gets really, really, really fucking good, if it hasn't already. I go into the DMV. It's finally my turn after like half an hour of waiting, which isn't that bad. I go up and I say, all right, I want to get my new driver's license. I'm 21. It's my 21st birthday. He pulls up my account and he says, you're actually wanted right now. Like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I got the suspension thing covered and everything. This is where it gets fucking weird. He looks at my account again. He says, no, I see you got the suspension thing covered, but it says that you're wanted for crimes of driving with a suspended license. I'm like, yes, that's true. That should have been completely dissolved after I figured out the whole suspended license crap. And apparently it wasn't. So what happened, and then it happened again, essentially. I got my shit figured out at the DMV. They never told the Flagstaff DMV. Apparently they're different DMV. I don't know. They never told any official authority in Flagstaff that I had resolved that, so that the ticket that I received when I did drive on a suspended license would have dissipated. Those series of events never transpired. That never fucking happened. So as a result, yes, my license was not suspended anymore, but now I'm a wanted man, which technically means I can't get a new license. That apparently that's what that means. This is where it gets really fucking weird, okay? He tells me, I don't know how he knows this shit. I don't know how he knows this shit, but he tells me that my court date was that day. He says, you have a court date today, the 26th of May, in like an hour. So I said, hold on. Let me wrap my brain around this real fast. You're telling me that just out of a fucking cosmic miracle, the day that I come in, my birthday, the day that I come in to get a new license, you're telling me that I have a warrant for my arrest and my court date is an hour from now on my birthday. I leave the DMV, I go to the courthouse, right? And they're directing me to the right courtroom and whatnot. And I go in, and I'm not even kidding you. I don't know how, I've never experienced perfect timing like this. The second I walk into that courtroom, the judge's assistant calls my name. As in, I'm the next person to go up. And I walk up to the podium, and the judge says, so you have a warrant out for your arrest. He doesn't know why, though. On the report that he has, it doesn't say why I have a warrant out for my arrest. It just says, I have a warrant out for my arrest. So something did get erased, but not completely. So the whole me driving with a suspended license was dissolved, but not to the point where it completely absolved me of all fucking crimes. It blew my mind. He says, you have a warrant out for your arrest, but I'm not sure why. And I literally said, I can tell you why. And I told him this entire fucking story. I told him right from the beginning, when I got a parking ticket, to getting pulled over on Mother's Day, to going to the DMV today to celebrate my 21st birthday a year and a half later. He basically said you should not be here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm inclined to believe you. His assistant gives me a piece of paper, and he says, just take this to the DMV, have them show it to them, have them sign it, and then you should be fine. Absolved of all whatever. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. Take the piece of paper, go back to the DMV. I give them the piece of paper. Okay? I give them the piece of paper and I say, all right, here we go. I went to the courtroom. The judge said that this is a bunch of fucking bullshit malarkey crap, and just give me my 21st license. He looks at the piece of paper that the judge's assistant gave me, and he said, it's not signed by the judge. It's not signed by the judge, so he can't accept it. So I take the piece of paper, I go back to the courtroom, and the judge is gone by now. His day's fucking over. He's done with his job. He's gone, all right? So the only person there is the judge's assistant. And I go up to her and I say, hey, apparently the judge needed to sign this, so I can't get my 21st license. Can we figure this out? And she takes a piece of paper and she says, you know what? I can sign it. She signs it. I go back to the DMV. I go up to the clerk and I give him the piece of paper one last time. I said, okay, here it is, all right? If you tell me that I need something else signed on this fucking form, I'm going to go to the bathroom and sign it myself, accept this piece of shit, and give me my 21st license. I didn't quite say it that meanish. He takes it, he gives me my 21st license, and that's fucking it. So that's it. That's the short story, quote unquote short story of how I became a wanted man.